Hi, I'm Ellen Parker, and if you're any busy, whether you're at home or at the office, and you're supposed to understand what is going on in the industry, including remembering what CDP, CMP, PMP, CD, and now CPM, CPC, CPA, CPAE, eCPA, eCPM, CP, SBO, CPO, COPAO. What was anyway? If you are that person, overwhelmed, most likely underappreciated, most likely overworked, you're doing a lot of repetitive tasks, you're having a lot of to correct a lot of human errors, this is for you. I am doing another reach and frequency programs. It is a 7 weeks accelerator program where we cover all fundamentals from conceptual to technical skills. What I mean by that is that this is for you if you're interested in understanding how activating media works. It's like how to set up in a DSP, how to optimize after setting up, how to look at your inventory, how to create your own SPO from a trader perspective, from a buyer's perspective, how to make sure that you know the difference between programmatic deals or curated deals, which one to use when. This is for you if you have any experience in programmatic trading from 0 to 3 or maybe 4, and you're trying to level up. Maybe you're in a situation where you were self taught, okay, which is half of us out there in the street. You're a self starter and you really want to take more initiative. You really want to go for that promotion, or you really want to go for a little bit more responsibility, but you maybe lack the confidence or the competence to go after that. So that's exactly what we do in the program.
Welcome to another episode of the Programmatic Digest podcast. I am your host, Ellen Parker, and today we're going to talk about programmatic curation or programmatic curated deals. Anyway, we're going to talk about curation. In the last couple of weeks, we've covered a lot of grounds about MFAs. We talked about the origins of the story, like the origin story of MFAs, why it's so important as a buyer, but also we've given a perspective from a buyer, from a trader to the ad tech or the sell side. So if you have not heard those two episodes, this third one is kind of going to be building on that one. So I strongly recommend that you go back to 148 and 149 and listen to those. Because it kind of is going to build onto this. So, as a quick recap to those two episodes, we really spent a lot of time on the analytics report that came out, one in January, one in March, and again, an updated one in April. And I'm recording this mid-April, and I realized that some of the conversation we've been having is basically just to make sure that we're able to target people for our clients, right? We're able to target our audiences in a super strategic way, very cost efficient and super effectively. This is the whole point of the conversation about MFA. What some of those reports have highlighted is that we need to trust our partners, but also verify. And you've heard me say this on this podcast a lot, is that you cannot set it and forget it. You cannot set it and forget it anymore. At least you should have never. But if you're doing it, you need to stop. But in devil's advocate here, and this is for my friend on the sell side, on the ad tech side, is that we don't, as trader, we never mean to set it and forget it. That's never the case. Like we never go and we never start setting up and be like, I'm never going to look at this on purpose. No, usually a trader has a lot more responsibility, has a lot of shit to do, just like everybody else in the industry, right? But we are not given the appropriate time to go back on our campaigns and 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 review, or at least not enough time to dive deeper into it. Now, if you have partners like Chalice or Sybit, or even if you have a DSP like the Trade Desk who has COA, or the other one, Kokai, um, you still need a human to look at this data and help make strategic decision. That's the whole point of automated intelligence, AI, is to help us automate some of this mundane task on a day-to-day basis to help us look at the bigger, the larger view, giving us the larger view of our strategy. Okay, so today we're going to talk about programmatic curation. We're going to define it. We're going to mention latest articles that I came across, but also my whole purpose is, again, to build down to this whole MFA thing, is that, you know, it's pushing us towards a curated, programmatic curated world. What I mean by that is that because of what analytics have proven, which is, even though partners that we work with on a daily basis are going through these all getting certified, they're re-identifying their tech, they're reinvesting in their tech, there's still instances where, and they're getting caught for it, there's still instances where we're serving an MFA, for instance, right? We're doing things that we don't want to do. And so in order to really get ahead of it, I do think that you should pay attention to programmatic curation, or curated deals, whatever. And here's how. So first, you know me, I like to define things. So what is programmatic curated deals? Because I came across actually this article from 2021. Where is it? Where is the article? Oh, I came across this article from 2021 from the Exchange Wire, written by Grace Dillon, as specifically the 15th of December 2021. And the article is called "The Future of Programmatic Will Be Curated." I love it. And so she goes on to defining exactly what it is, right? And so I'm going to give you my quick overview of this article, which is, while programmatic offers numerous benefits like scale and targeting capabilities, we also created challenges, increased fragmentation, store of our life, and reduce transparency in the supply chain. You've heard me talk about SPO, and this is also another form of SPO, but let's continue. So in order to address some of these problems that we're having, including the MFA issue, and to restore confidence, like restore confidence in programmatic open internet, programmatic in general, we have to understand the concept of programmatic curation. Programmatic curation involves the creation of curated packages by curators. And the curators that we're referring to here are publishers, agencies, data providers, that combine a unique offering with hand-picked supply from the open internet. These curated packages are sold through private deals, offering benefits such as improved transparency, audience extension, and control over data assets. For agencies, curation offers the opportunity to differentiate themselves and build stronger relationship with publishers. So hold up. Curation is seen as the next evolution of supply path optimization. I did a training a couple months ago at this point. It was in Q1, where I walked the buyer, the trader, through an intro to SPO from a buy side. Let me take one step back. SPO, supply path optimization, was originally or started on the sell side, on the supply side. The whole concept of SPO, and I'm very much simplifying this, was because suppliers, the supply inventory, the SSVs, the publishers discovered that there was a lack of there was a hole somewhere where they were not making enough money, straight up. What I mean by that is that there's a lot of middlemen that we go through before this money that we pay before it gets down to the supplier. to the publisher. And so in order to reduce the middleman, to really understand who's serving my sites, who is helping me monetize my site the more effectively, obviously to make more profit, right? But also to help our audience extension, we have to reduce the amount of suppliers we work with. And so SPO started like that. You have to follow the money. I know it's not all about the money, but you have to follow the money in those cases. So in order for you to really understand SPO and how it started, you got to understand how publishers are getting paid. Okay. So if a DSP, if you're putting like $1 as a base bid, okay, and the DSP is getting, let's say, 20 cents out of the dollar, and then the SSP is getting another 20 to 35 cents out of that dollar. So now we're down to 50 cents. And then sometimes there's the ad server of both ends. They're getting 10 to 15 cents here and there. When you do that math, I think the publisher gets less than 40 to 30 cents of that dollar, but we're buying their inventory, right? But there's so many middlemen. That's who I call the middlemen, the SSPs, the ad servers or whatnot in the middle of it. And so that's how SPO started. It was this whole concept of SPO started for the publisher, for the supply side to kind of come to build a path for the buyer or to the buyer, to the advertiser, so that they can get to their audiences, to their inventory efficiently, cost-wise, and so that they could still mix a little bit of shmoney, okay? And so that's how SPO started. And now, of course, as always, the buy side kind of took it. We kind of use this concept to really do the same thing on our end. And I think that's how curated deals were born. And so what I mean by that is that in my training, and you can request the training. So I did a training on LinkedIn Live a couple months ago, as I mentioned, where I did an intro to how to build our suppliers. So now we understand where SPO come from. I think it paints a clear picture when you understand the term first and when you understand how it all got started. So SPO was for publisher to be able to monetize their site in some shape or form, right? I'm simplifying it, to be able to monetize and effectively. That's it, just effectively. Now on the buyer side, SPO is super important, and it's basically what I teach when I'm referring to optimizing your site list, optimizing your SSPs, optimizing the seller. Is downloading the report down to the ad group. Please, please, please. It is not when you start building your supply toolbox, your curated supply. It's important to start doing it at an ad group level. I think the biggest mistake is to start building it at the advertiser level. But truly, you got to start at the tactic, at that one audience. Yes, Ellen, you're telling us to have curated for all of our audiences, all of our ad group. Yes. What I'm telling you to do is to get started at the ad group level. And as you are optimizing every ad group, and coming up with that inclusion list that works for that ad group, then that's how you're able to look at a strategy as a whole, or to look at a trend as a whole. For this particular type of ad group, this category of ad groups, this type of suppliers are performing well compared to this type of supplier. But there's not only that, you have to layer the fact that it could be, as anything in what we do, it could also, the message can influence the type of performance we get. Actually, not sometimes. Always, the message is important to people. We need to remember creative here. Creative is really important. Okay. And so where was I going with that? Okay, yeah. So when you're creating your supply tool, you have to remember that you got to get down to that tactic. So as you're doing more and more and more of these, then you'll remember that, okay, maybe you need to make sure that this supplier is always on for these type of categories because, well, it's performing well. So for instance, maybe Magnite Display Network, or DV, I think it's called DV, Display Video Network, is working really well. But the Pubmatic one is not performing for, I don't know, retail media, I don't know, or a particular brand. But Pubmatic works better for this other brand versus Magnite, right? So that's the type of exercise I'm telling you to do. Yes. It's very manual. It's going to take time at first, but I don't think we're trying to rush here. Now, I think it is important to understand that it goes both ways. If the trader is expected, or if I'm telling the trader to go ahead and optimize each of your report at that level, then it's really important that the supply continues the conversation on that end. And that's where curated deals come from. It's reaching out directly to that supply, to that supply source. So the SSP, okay, or the publisher or the seller. An example of seller that I gave in my training via LinkedIn is She Media, right? Who's recently has added Colossus SSP to their roster of partners. And example of She Media site could be, what was it? Let me look it up real quick again. So I given you the seller, which is She Media, owned by Penske, I think. And then the SSP example, for this case of our example, the SSP would be Colossus. And now the sites, example of sites could be, so I'm looking at it, it's Stylecaster, Mochi Mom, SheKnows.com, Manifesting Serenity, Flow, Stylecaster, Explore with Alex. It really depends. It has a bunch of other sites that you could, soaps, TV Line, it really depends, right? And so all of those websites are basically within that seller. And so when you start working with that seller, you automatically have an opportunity to bid on those sites. But the whole point of going direct with She Media is to really have them giving you that customized pipeline. That's the best way I can understand. I can explain curated deals. So in recap, curated deals are another version of private marketplace deal. It's specifically building your supply toolbox. I want you to be able to open your toolbox and be like, for our retail media clients, these are our deals that we've already arranged, we've already tested, and that are working really well. For our pharmaceutical client, we're working with directly with partners like, I don't know, Pulse Point, and these are the deals that we're able to give us, and we're able to also manipulate, model this data here for EDU, for CPG, for small business type of brands, things like that, right? SMBs and things like that. So that's what I mean by your supply toolbox. You have to start your supply toolbox. Why? Because not only is going to help you stay ahead of a whole MFA mess out there in these streets, but it's also going to help you test cookie-less initiative, as well as, brand safety, as well as a specific type of inventory. So we got to get started now, right? Because the rest of the industry is already moving and running around and blowing the whistle left and right. So my goal at the end of this podcast, what I'm hoping you can get is the one first, the courage to get started and to continue and to be consistent. Okay, that's what I'm hoping you can start doing at the end of the podcast, like today, right now, is to have the courage to, one, go into your campaign and start optimizing your supply down to that site list, down to that supplier, which is the SSP or the seller, and to start excluding at the seller or at the SSP, okay? to start moving away from the site list exclusion and inclusion list. Yes, 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 yes. I said it. The second thing I would like for you to understand is that the industry is always coming up. The industry is always coming up with a way to repeat history. What I mean by that is that curated deals are just private deals, maybe on steroids. I don't know. Open path is a good example of wait, is it open path or what is it? Trade Desk came up with, well, open path is a good example of a supply toolbox, right? Or a curated deal, maybe, or programmatic curation, is that you're going straight to the publisher, and it's one pipeline, and this pipeline has no at least a reduced amount of middlemen. That's the whole point. Why? Because you want to cost, the cost has to be effective, right? So you want to make sure you reduce the middlemen. At the same time, a supplier or a curator in our conversation could be an SSP, as well as a seller, as well as the publishers. Okay, so in my professional opinion, I am recommending that you curate your supply in that form with all these three mentioned, down to the publishers, down to the sellers, and down to the SSPs. Why? Because you want to diversify. Obviously, make sure that they're unique, right? Like if you are gonna go with I don't know, if you're gonna go with Colossus, make sure that you're going with them for a specific something. Obviously, Colossus is one of the only minority Black owned media SSPs, I think, at least one of them. And so if you're going to them, then you want curated minority owned publishers. Like you want to make sure that you're targeting that type of audience, right? And so it's very specific to that. So that's the biggest difference between just selecting a PMP maybe in your DSP that's already available to you, or going straight and setting up those deals. And please let me tell you something, traders, buyers, agency owners, leaders, if you're listening to this message, this is for you right now, okay? Listen, Linda. These partners want to talk to you. They're waiting to have the conversation with you. They're waiting to work with you, and they're going to work with your pocket. Okay. And because, and thanks maybe to the transparency that analytics reports have brought to us in daylight and at night, I think smaller to medium-sized agencies, boutique-style agencies, are going to rise up to this occasion, okay, and provide these type of supply path optimization, curated deals for brands. And bigger brands, okay, are going to start paying attention to those boutique-style agencies, because we know, because it's going to be specific and specialized. And that's my professional opinion, is that more and more we're going to start seeing boutique style agencies pop up, or actually not pop up, like redefine the industry because of this whole perspective of programmatic curation. Okay, so 3 things to remember, or 3 things to take for you to get started. If you're a trader, if you're leading, if you're managing a campaign, I encourage you to start and continue and stay consistent in how you optimize your supply inventory. When all fails, and this is what I teach in our training, is that when we have a optimization grid that we share with our clients, and actually you can find it in some of the YouTube videos, you can find it in some of my LinkedIn content as well. You can request it right here. I'll try to add a QR code if I'm fancy, or you can request some training materials down here, but I mean in the show notes and the YouTube description box. But what I mean by that is that the way we have the optimization grid, it reference, like when you have an awareness-based campaign, these are the targeting levers you want to start focusing on. If all fails, you don't know where to start, this is a good start. When you have click-based, these are the specific targeting levers you can start with. Not only do, but start with. Conversion-based, these are this. And for any streaming, audio specific campaigns, even CTV and OTT specific campaign on that grid, we have specific like KPIs and targeting levers to help you make the decision on where to start optimizing, for instance, let's say. And the whole point of the optimization grid is that if you have 15 minutes or less and you start with one of those targeting levers, you'll have enough time to get the information or to optimize or to make an intelligent adjustment to your performance in your campaign, in your DSP. And so all of those different objectives on the grid has inventory checked off. When all fails, listen to me. Listen, Linda. When all fails, start with your inventory. If you don't know where to start, let me pull a site list. And when you pull the site list, make sure you pivot in the SSP and the seller. Some DSP, because not all DSPs reporting are created equal. Some DSP don't give you that sellers right away. You have to go check it off. Matter of fact, even in the trade desk, you need to go check off that one dimension before you download your report. So pay attention to that. But almost all DSPs will give you SSPs and sites at least. So that's a good start. And so download that report. Look at your inventory. Start building your inclusion list. Start building your exclusion list. In your exclusion list, make sure, because it's KPI based, make sure that you go back and reassess if it should still be excluded. If you see that an SSPs have predominantly exclusion list, like excluded sites, right? Then reach out to the SSP, or instead just exclude the SSP to start with. If on the other hand, same thing with the other hand, if you see that an SSP has predominantly more inclusion site, right? Site that you keep on your inclusion list, then reach out to the SSP, build your curated deals to them, via them, right? And so, listen, there's a lot going on. Okay. But you just got to start somewhere. And I think if you start by optimizing your site and your supply and you reach out to those people, whether they're performing well or not so well, it's a great start. That's how you get started, by reaching out. And on the other side, for my ad tech folks or for my SSPs or my supply folks, this is how a buyer makes a decision. Okay. If when you hear me say cut them off, it's really with the utmost respect and honor that I carry for the sell side. Is solely KPI decision making. It's just like I'm making this decision to cut off this supply source because it's not performing based on this one KPI. I don't want to standardize it across right away unless I'm seeing that this particular SSP is not performing across most of them. And then I am asking the activation team to reach out to you, to reach out to the supplier that's not performing well and ask why. And, maybe it's just you need a curated deal. So in recap, you got to get started, have the courage to stay consistent, have the courage to reach out to them. They're ready for us to reach out to them, and also stay consistent. And you're going to have to be more smarter about how you are optimizing. If you're not in the ability to partner with Chalice algorithm or Sybits or somebody else, if you're not in the ability to partner with Analytics, Jones Media, Deep Sea, then you're going to have to do things manually. Now, if you're a manager of a team of traders, you are going to have to normalize time spent on these type of that exercise that is SPO for your team, period. You can ask them to just build an SPO just because, they want to be cute. No, they're going to have to do some research. They're going to have to reach out to those partners, and that takes time. What also takes time is looking at performance, especially if you don't have a data visualization tool to help visualize things effectively. Okay. Because for some of us, Excel is still big. Okay. Excel is big. With that said, this is it. That's all I have for you for this episode. If you're interested in training with us, this is exactly what we do. We help you build, a supply. We help you get started. I am hands-on inside the DSP with you and your team. We build recording. We start building your training library. So everything we record stays with you. If there's guides that I need to create with you, I create it, it stays with you. Because I want to make sure that we not only address the fundamentals, the conceptual start, the source, but also that we implement with your clients. So it's very hands-on and also is dynamic and long term. Okay. Like you're not just going to hire me for one workshop. We're going to work together for like a couple months where we dive into your data together. And I always invite partners with to my trainings because I think it's important. Okay. It's important. Like, and sometimes the ad agencies or the teams that I'm working with just don't know who to reach out to. And that's really common. There's a lot of y'all out here in these streets. Okay. But and that's what I do for my ad agency. So if you're an ad agency, 0 to 5 traders, a team for between 0 to 5 traders, like employee count, I'd love to work with you. Reach out. All my information are in the show notes and the description. I also have tons of free training out here. It's very easy to access it via my YouTube. And you can go on my website and request a few of them where I can share the deck with you. So again, thank you so much for listening. If you have not yet left us a a review, please leave me a review on iTunes. That would be so dope. And share this episode if you found it very, very helpful. And again, I'm in your you can be in my DMs. I can be in your DMs. We're good to go. I would end with this quote though. Let me find it. It was somewhere here. All right. Oh, I didn't even mention how important that's why the whole curation of programmatic. We're gonna start seeing more companies come up with their own ways of joining the programmatic world, right? Like we just heard Chase was one of them. A few years ago, who was it? Bonvoy, Marriott, Walmart acquired Vizio. Retail media is super sexy right now for some brands because of that whole curation. Like we know what kind of media we're buying, we know what kind of audience to expect and what kind of measurement we're able to get with some of those specific partners that I just mentioned, or brands or companies. And so I think we're going to keep seeing more of these pop up in the future, and I think we should take advantage of it. You should take advantage of like a partner like Chase or Marriott, depending on which brands or which advertiser you're working with. But we shouldn't be surprised that we're going to keep seeing more of them pop up. And that's the whole point of programmatic curation, is that we are able to know that they exist and we're able to reach out to them directly to get what we're supposed to get. Okay. Let me find the quote. I don't know. It was a quote from Shirley Zeltzer. I am so sorry. I may be mispronouncing your name. I'm very sorry. It was an article in the Ad Exchanger. I'm pretty sure it's Alyssa Boyle. And actually, it was about AI and the future of programmatic and things like that. Oh, there it is. Okay. So the quote from Shirley Zeltzer, Chief Data and Technology Officer at Dentsu. And she, I think Alyssa asked her, let me make sure it was Alyssa because I've been reading a lot. Oh, I'm so sorry. Major respect is Hannah Yu. I'm so glad I checked because I actually really love Hannah Yu. I've listened to you on the Ad Exchanger podcast. I'm a big fan. So I'm glad I checked this one. I'm a big fan of all of y'all. But anyway, so you asked Shirley, what are you recommending? And this is what she said. She said, knowledge is power. Make sure you know what signal loss means for the way you do your business today and what's going to change from the way you buy media to how you measure performance. Create a roadmap. You don't have to change everything in one day. Oh, preach! Let's make sure we're able to have a strong identity, Let's make sure we're putting it right tools in place and start migrating some of your data into these tools. We're going to see a lot of more brands realizing they need to take advantage of their first party data. Brands that they do in a meaningful way are going to be ahead. And please, and this is an interview that was edited again and condensed from Hannah Hugh in Ad Exchanger. And the author of the quote I just read is Shirley Zelser. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name, my friend. And so the reason why I wanted to share the quote, and I'll end with this, is because you're absolutely right. Like, programmatic curation is just answering and checking off and helping answer a bunch of questions, like the whole MFA things, prevention of the MFAs, signal loss. I mean, we call it cookieless, right? Interchangeably, we refer to cookieless, but it should be signal loss. What is this whole identity thing? Like, how to continue servicing our client the way we're supposed to. And so I leave you with this. Okay. Let me know if you have any questions. As always, I'm here for you. I'm honored. Thank you so much for for if you made it this far. Like, I love you. I appreciate you. Stay curious, stand up for yourself. And remember, this whole what we do on a daily basis, remember that we have humans, like we're humans, and we have to take care of us, of each other, like of ourselves. So make sure you take break from all of this, like you go and walk around a little bit and really take care of you. Please take care of you. A better you is what we need in this industry, not, you know, it's like, please, okay? I value you as a person. I appreciate you as a person. If nobody told you, thank you for being you. Thank you for showing up to my podcast and listening to me. I love you. See y'all next week.